Down the Barrel Podcast with Jimmy, Dino, and Jared.
Okay, so today we're back with Mr. Greg Lease, and we're going to be talking about some of Greg's adventures out on public land around the Midwest, really. So thanks for joining us today, Greg.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, some archery hunting.
Yeah.
Finally.
Finally.
I mean, it's kind of, I guess it's not
We
the
have a
worst
good
time
mix.
of year. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I got to get out practicing right now because
Right.
it's almost turkey season.
Right. It's a good time of year to start thinking about getting your bow out. I mean, it's getting warmer here in northern Minnesota.
It is. I'm waiting for my yard to dry up just enough, kind of where I shoot. It's pretty soggy.
Right.
So I want another week of, I don't know, some sunshine and a little bit warmer weather so I can get the targets out and not track mud everywhere. So
I think maybe
it's a great time.
this one might scratch everybody's itch to talk about some bow hunting.
I think so.
It is that time of year. Shed hunting, starting to shoot a little bit.
Right.
I got to get new strings and cables on my bow, so this is a good reminder for that.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and why you do what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Greg Lease, from Grand Rapids, Minnesota, northern Minnesota, and spent a bunch of years away from Grand Rapids down in the cities. But before that, right after I graduated, I was able to get out to Montana. I did a couple years guiding out there for deer, elk, bear, and mountain lion.
Oh, cool.
Worked for a couple outfitters, so that was really good for an 18, 19-year-old kid. And, kind of learn that work ethic when it comes to hunting applies for hunting as well, not just your job. And saw a lot of good big game hunters. And that was probably a pretty good introduction into later on trying to be pretty serious about this whole chasing, whitetails around the Midwest. So, that and following my dad around South Dakota, chasing pheasants, he's a diehard pheasant hunter, and learning the basics like edges and even pheasants follow edges, right? Just kind of, I think all that stuff laid out, kind of what I do now, because they're still critters and they still relate to certain things. They're not deer, but critters still kind of do critter things,
Right.
Yep.
and I had a couple of good uncles that my Uncle Mark got me into bow hunting when I was a young man, and I actually killed my first deer up in Marcel behind his place, and grew up hearing all my Uncle Randy's stories. He's a pretty good big game hunter, mostly gun hunter, but he kills a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's everything kind of led to today, what I do now. When I lived down in the cities, I did spend a lot of time down the Sherburne Refuge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marsh hunting. Of course, that was back when Dan Infalt was starting to really come into the marsh hunting scene, and really kind of tried to mimic that stuff. And but marsh hunting is a lot of work, and worked pretty hard for not a lot of results for a lot of years down there, but it was all still good. It's all the work and all the failed hunts you do as a young man. It all leads to something if you're willing to just keep plugging away.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to start somewhere for sure.
I've got a lot of failed hunts as an old man.
Well, so do I. Yeah.
I don't think they ever really stop.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But I mean, you just hope that you get fewer and fewer of them.
Yes.
But
That's
that's
what
not
the
always
hope
the
is.
case.
No.
Depends on your definition of failure, right?
True. I mean, I enjoy every hunt.
If you're just out there to hug a tree, every hunt's a
It's a success.
I never go out there to hug a tree, but I've spent a lot of time hugging trees.
right?
I think I spend more times hugging trees now saddle hunting.
Yes,
Right.
for sure.
That is a true
than
story.
I ever have. But
That's probably my most intimate relationship I've ever had in my life. Is
Right.
with whatever tree.
Straddling a tree. I did it this year with you guys. I'm not doing it again.
That poor tree.
Yeah. No, not for me.
you'll do it again.
Oh, no, I'm not. So, but Greg, obviously you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And you share your hunts there. And you have hunts there from Iowa, Kansas, North Dakota, Minnesota. I mean, how do you go about finding places to hunt in those areas? What's the trick?
Well, the trick is just kind of reaching out and trying to get away from northern Minnesota. It's tougher here.
Oh yeah.
And everybody says that about their state. I get that, but where we're at here in Grand Rapids, and we're high up. Latitude. With the latitude lines, we have bad winters. We have a lot of predators, and I know the gun hunters are going to hate me for this, but that early gun season, I think, really puts a whomping on any kind of age structure buck at all. So, I found myself, I got a buddy in Wisconsin, and hearing about all his hunts and watching him, and I'm like, I gotta get down, head south or something. So I end up getting on a lease in Winona.
Nice.
And that was a turning point in my hunting. I realized then that all those years I spent here, not that I didn't kill, I killed a couple good deer, but I did a lot of hunting and not much killing. And the learning curve is so slow. That's what I always say about here. I go down there, get on this lease, and holy cow, I kill a pretty good buck right away, the first year. And I'm like, well, maybe I don't suck that bad. Yeah. So, that's what I always say about, people that grow up hunting here. It's hard unless there's something in you that you just have that whatever it is that keeps us going and keeps the passion going, unless you have that, you're not going to become a diehard deer hunter, because there's just so little success when you hunt in an area like this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it sound like there are no good bucks here, but there's not many.
Right.
You really got to do a lot of searching to find what I now at this stage of my life want to kill. Mm-hmm. And I went through the same progression that most people do. I spent as a young man just trying to kill a deer with my bow, and then you're like, okay, I killed a deer. Now I'm starting to get kind of good at killing a doe, every year. And then, okay, now I want to kill a buck. So you try that, and I finally kill a buck, and then I got to where I was killing, a buck every year, but there's a little buck, and I never saw anything good. I did a lot of hunting. I was a young man. I had nothing but time. And, I never really heard much a buck really do buck things. You don't really see a lot of that. You don't, it was years before I even heard a buck grunt, and, so, you kind of think that, I have this passion, but I'm just not very good at it, so that's why that was a turning point when I got on that lease down in southeast Minnesota. And I'm like, wow, I guess I'm not that bad. This worked out. Mm-hmm. And, the next year there, I killed another pretty good one. And so that's what added to, I guess, my confidence. There are a lot better guys out there than I am, but that was instrumental for me. And that's what kind of led me to knowing that I had to get out and search around and do some other stuff. And, I never did have another lease, but I thought if I ever did have another lease, it would be in another state, because then I could shoot 2 bucks.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was kind of the tipping point. That's what made me start thinking about looking elsewhere.
Right. So you're sitting down in Winona County, Minnesota, doing pretty dang good on the lease. You're probably paying pretty good money for.
Well, yeah.
I would imagine.
It wasn't horrible when it comes to leases, but it was more than I wanted to pay.
Right.
For sure.
It was more than free.
It was definitely more than free.
It is kind of funny because I was looking at that, and I don't remember the hookup I had, but I get a hold of the guy, and he's like, yeah, come on down and scout. So I drove all the way down there, and I'm like, wow, this looks actually pretty good. And finally he told me the price. I'm like, oh, this is all for nothing. And well, he's like, well, we might help you out. I got this other guy that he did the same thing last week, so maybe you can get with him, and if you guys get along, maybe you could split it. So I was kind of skeptical. Well, I did. I reached out, or he reached out to me or something, and then that's what we ended up doing. He ended up being a pretty good guy, and we kind of split it, and that's why I was able to do that.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of where I fell in love with hill country too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is beautiful down there.
Oh,
yeah, it's beautiful down there.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And my theory, of course, it's just my theory. It's not based on anything except my experience. I think whenever you run into bluffs like the driftless area of the country, that west Wisconsin, northeast Iowa, southeast Minnesota, where you get those good bluffs, if you have a 1 mile of land, you might have 2 miles of property in there, because you got your vertical stuff.
Right.
And because every time I've hunted anything with those bluffs, I run into better age class deer. And it makes total sense to me, and it's harder to get to. So,
Right.
The deer aren't as easy to kill by just average hunters that are just out to, mess around on a weekend.
Right.
Plus there's more land in there because it's vertical.
Yep.
So that's kind of my going theory on that.
Yeah. So then you're down in Winona. At what point do you decide you're going to drive even further south and go find some public land to hunt? So
James, I got a buddy there I mentioned earlier, lives in Wisconsin. He'd hunted Iowa one time. Had he hunted Iowa by then? Anyway, he was starting to dive out a little bit. So we decided 1 year we're just going to go to Kansas. And we did that, and the video's up there. On my little channel there. And we did good, and from then on, I'm hooked. This traveling and because what little bit I did know in the work ethic that I put into chasing deer, it worked there too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I went down to hill country, which I'm totally not familiar with. Got onto a couple deer in a couple of years. Now I did this trip to Kansas, and look at that. Wow. So I started, it's easy to put together the pieces of the puzzle a little bit, when you start having some success. And then it's just a matter of just trying to always learn, and I, by no means do I have it figured out, but I have a system now that's working.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
Yeah, no, that's
the Greg Lease system.
Right.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah. I think it's cool because that you travel that far, going just looking on a map, public land, which in Kansas is hard to find.
I can't even find it. I've been there for the last 3 years.
Yeah, there's not a lot of public opportunity than just to pick a spot on the map, and that's a lot of risk for,
Well,
but
that's all I do is public, and and I have a little bit of a system for that too. I mean, it's not a science or anything, but if an area is decent for deer, you pick the section or the area that's got the most public in it. Yeah, And then once you get there, you got to handle that in a certain way too to take advantage of that. So that's part of my system, which we can get into if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to know how you find it, especially in Kansas, because I've spent some time there, and I didn't think there was public landing.
Well, where I'm at, there's not. The walk-in access is more CRP stuff, more for like bird hunters. I mean, obviously there's deer on there, and I know we've all seen those videos of the public land guys that spot and stalk the deer, but you're talking totally different area. So
are there no trees really where you're at?
Where I'm at, I'm on a river bottom and in Jib Hills and stuff like that. So there's a lot of trees, river bottoms, stuff like that.
And let me in there.
Yeah,
right.
But
good.
I mean, and we are in a hilly area, so
it looks like the Badlands.
Yeah, yep. So that really helps, and that whole Unit 16 area is all.
It's a beautiful area
and river bottom stuff like that. So, and there's a decent amount of cropland too, but a lot of cattle, stuff like that. So
sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds so good.
Yeah, a lot of wheat fields, and that's obviously where most of the deer were hanging out every day.
Yeah,
wheat fields, alfalfa. So cropland.
I mean, I think people would be interested to know your process from start to finish. How do you choose where you're going to go? How do you go about getting the permits and
scouting,
entering the lotteries and
is there 2 trips down? Then,
I try to do 2 trips.
Okay.
of course, when you're picking a place like Kansas or Missouri, that's quite the trip.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tougher. But typically, once I have kind of figured out an area, there's enough public land there to work with. And of course, you don't really know what the hunter pressure is going to be like or anything, but you just kind of got to go on a prairie, you just go and do what you can do. I try to get down there in the spring, do that, before green up, just like we do up here. Up here, we're forced to do it in the spring because we have snow.
Right.
But that's what I always try to do. I get down there wherever I'm at, whatever state, in the spring. And I'll pick. Of course, I always pick too much because I can't finish it all. But I always try to pick like 8 properties. And everyone thinks, public property, I spend all my time on one piece. That's typically not the case. I'll pick 6 or 8 different properties within a 30-mile area, and I'll try to, if I'm down there for a long weekend, I'll just try to wear out my boots, and that's all I do. Hit as many places as I can. It always seems that I never finish it and never hit them all, but you just go wear out boot leather. Look at everything. I really like scrapes, and rubs are all good too, but I really like scrapes because you can kind of tell what are just periphery scrapes on the sides of fields, which are a lot of nighttime usage scrapes. I don't pay a lot of attention to those. That just tells me that there's a buck around somewhere.
Yep.
I like those big ones that are dished out, that are inside the woods, maybe next to cover, in the drainages, that I can picture hopefully several bucks hitting during the daytime, I really like those. So I pay attention to those. Of course, Onyx is, we all know what Onyx does.
Right.
It's a huge tool. That Onyx has killed more deer than anything has.
Yeah.
Right.
And just mark everything. I'll hit all those places, mark everything. When I retire, I'm going to try to start getting more into the earlier season stuff. Now with vacation and stuff, we're on limited time.
Right.
So I try to put, the more bang for the buck. So I'm always pushing for rut stuff,
Yep.
25th of October on, well into November. Those are kind of my dates. And, like everybody else, but that's the most bang for your buck. That's when the deer are moving, hopefully the best. And when you're using vacation time that you don't have a lot, you kind of got to pick something like that. At least that's my way of thinking. So I'm always looking for pinch points, travel areas, benches, anything like that. The typical thing that everybody typical stuff that everybody talks about. But I'll get as many of those places together as I possibly can, full well knowing that when I come back, that they might be dead,
Right.
So once I do that in the spring, then I'm kind of on coast mode. My next move is I always like to get down there around October 1st. By then, in areas with a good population of decent bucks, they're usually laying down pretty good sign. Their scrapes are usually opened up. You can start to get a bead on where the bucks are actually at, what they're using right now. Kind of getting an idea that there actually are deer in that certain area. So it always works out that, if I have scouted 6 properties in the spring, that October 1st trip, whatever that weekend is around there, I'm going to probably have 2 properties that are looking promising, and then there's always seems to be like a third that's, maybe that could turn on, maybe not, maybe it won't, So just because you scout 6 doesn't mean you're going to be hunting 6. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You kind of have to put them on your priority list. Here's my 1, here's my 2, here's my 3. And, of course, technology. I have moved all over to cell cams now. And I have plenty of them because, not that I'm a techie or I like to jump on that next latest fad, but they actually work for me. I'll drop a bunch. I'll set them on these pinch points, these travel areas. I'll try to, I mean, here's one example, like in Wisconsin, there's this area that's a really good bench on the side of a bluff. And on that bench, it's like 80 yards wide or so, but there's like 2 or 3, or maybe, I think there might be 4 faint trails running that, coming off the side, running the length. There's and none of them really intersect. So I've learned over the years, I make my own mock scrape. And I kick it out. I'll pull a branch over, or hopefully I'll find a branch. I'll kick it out, and I actually pee in it. And because 12 hours later, it just turns to ammonia anyway, just like everything else does.
Yeah, right.
And I heard that, but I believe it because they work. And all you're trying to do is every now and then you're trying to get a deer that might have gone past your camera to move over there and go check it out. That's all you're trying to do. You're just trying to inventory what's there. And if that particular spot that looks good, you start getting pictures, even if it's at night, that's good. And then, you're trying to figure out what caliber deer you have in the area. If you have 1 or 2 deer in there that you would shoot, and, if they're showing up once or twice a week or on that, soon after the October 1st time frame, I'm in on that. I'm not one to think that if they're just showing up at nighttime on the kind of setups that I put out for my cams, that it's no good, because you're missing deer all the time. You're not getting every deer there. You're seeing little bucks. If you're seeing does, that's even better. Right. So, I mean, if I'm getting a shooter buck once a week on camera on a place like I just described, I'm in. I'm good. It doesn't even matter if it's nighttime, because I'm counting on there are several deer that I'm missing, and there's probably even another deer that I would shoot that I'm not even seeing. All you're doing is that area is alive. That's all I'm trying to confirm.
Yeah. Right.
So will you put these cameras out in the spring when you go, or more or less in October?
I'll do that in October.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the spring is purely a scouting.
Yeah.
Where do I want to start in October?
Yep. Gotcha.
That's all the spring thing is. It's familiarizing. It's checking these properties out. It's like, this one I think is doable. This one's worth coming back this fall. The October 1st trip, I would say October 1st, whatever that nearest weekend is, it needs to be late enough to where deer are starting to do deer things. Yep. Laying down sign. And because I have to be able to tell what's worth it. Where do I drop one of my cameras? Where do I maybe kick in a mock scrape? And I keep my cameras high. I don't have them low, because that does tend to screw up deer. When you start running cameras on video mode, you start seeing this stuff. So I'll bring a stick with me. I'll actually go 1 stick high, hang the camera, jam a stick behind it, and point it down. Yep. And just keep it out of there. And I very rarely see a deer that even acknowledges it. Does, little bucks, nothing.
That's pretty smart. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So do you put cameras up when you go down, let's say, to Kansas or Iowa?
If I'm able to make an early trip, I will. If I make that early trip, for sure, I'm bringing my cameras.
Okay.
Yep. And, if I only have 3 cameras left, I might just try to be really picky at where they go, because I want to put those on what appears to me to be the best spots.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Because my goal is, when I do show up to hunt, if I don't hunt, oftentimes I don't hunt that October 1st. It's just a quick rundown, or maybe I'm doing another state too, and I'm trying to split them up. But my goal is to say, okay, I'm now keeping tabs through my cell cams. I know where I'm going to go my first day I'm there.
Right.
So that's the goal. And that's how I shorten it up and try to get on deer as fast as I can once I'm actually there.
Right. So you're really putting in a lot of effort, honestly, a lot of drive time. How many miles does your truck have?
Well, I'm over my few. I've been leasing, so I'm over my lease miles. I'll tell you that much. Yeah,
no doubt. So when you go to these places down there, are you hoteling it? Or are you camping? What's What's that look
both.
like?
I've done motels, but I don't know, a handful of years now. I built a camper.
Really?
Yeah, I bought this old, it was like a 1996 something or other, Featherlight something, and it was kind of rotten out. My goal was to strip it down and fix it. But once you tear into those campers, they have those little flimsy aluminum studs. You can't do that.
Yeah. Nope.
So I stripped everything off. I had a bunch of supports welded on it, and I built my own how I wanted it.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's still pretty light. And so, that's what we do. It's still big enough for my wife and I to stay in, but I made it small, so it's not that big of a deal to haul around,
Yep. So like, say you're going to Kansas or, any of the states, Iowa, Missouri, on the public land, do you run into a decent amount of other people?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I can't imagine it's filled like it is up here. I mean, for archery season, where we hunted the one time, there was 3 of us in there for like 4,000 acres.
Right.
But I imagine down there, there's probably a little bit more.
Yep. My second year in Kansas was the worst hunter pressure I ever saw. And, you spend your time trying to put in hunts, trying to work around hunters, and then something will happen. You're like, I gotta, here's another hunter or whatever. But, same story. Kansas was real bad that second year, and I never did get on I got on a deer or two there. I just couldn't make the shot. But the time before that, there were still a lot of hunters, and it just worked out. And there's little things that I do too to try to avoid the hunters the best I can on these spots, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
But this last year we went to Missouri, and the hunters there were crazy. It was crazy. The public land there was huge. I just hunted the same public land. Normally it's just a bunch of small ones, but this one was big. So we just hunted that same one, but I'm jumping around, hunting a lot of different areas in this public land, but everywhere went hunters. It was something else.
Yeah, that's what I'd be afraid of. You drive all the way down there and you just
I just think of Camp Ripley.
Right.
Walking
what it used to be.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
Yeah. Well, that's when I do my digital scouting, with Onyx.
Right.
I find, the areas that look like they would hold deer, but then I pick the ones that are the hardest to get to.
Right.
And I start there. Right.
The problem with that, yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
The problem with that now is with Onyx.
Need help and don't know where to turn? First Call for Help 211 connects you to free confidential support, including dedicated veteran services for housing, food, and mental health, available 24/7. Just dial 211. Help starts with your first call.
Other people
Everyone
are getting
else
in the
is doing-
same
right.
spots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's always that group that's doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And there are always some young, ambitious guys
Right.
that are in way better shape than I am, and they can go for days. And so now, I guess to combat that, and it works some of the time doesn't. I try to find these little tiny corners, and they don't even have to be far off. Mm-hmm. I try to get the little corners that might be butted up to the private, kind of an off the wall spot, and sometimes it works. Like, I'll give you an example. Iowa, this last time, pretty good public piece. I ran 2 cameras in there, and both were on scrapes. And it's Iowa. It's awesome. There's sign everywhere, And one of them was kind of in the heart of this spot, but it wasn't easy to get to. It wasn't horrible either, but it was out of the way. And the other one was in one of these little tiny corners. It was kind of across the ditch, and it's one of those spots I hope that people would overlook. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, running the camera there all fall, I never had anyone on that corner. But several people showed up and were scouting that other scrape,
Yeah, I suppose.
And that's kind of how it goes. Sometimes you try to pick a little off the wall spot along the edge. Sometimes you run into somebody else having the same thing, but the beautiful thing with archery hunters is generally they're good people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Good archery hunters aren't slobs,
right?
They typically won't run in, and if they see a camera there and sign that somebody else might have that spot, they'll typically go somewhere else.
Right.
And I do that.
right.
Last thing I want to do is go in elk sighted for the spot, and somebody's going in the same
Right.
little tree that I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the good part of this.
Right. So
The archery hunting thing.
you've talked about Wisconsin, Iowa, Kansas. I know you've hunted in North Dakota. What's that like?
North Dakota was awesome. It worked out. I've hunted there twice. Filled out the first time on a really good buck. Second time, same deal. Got on a bunch of deer, passed some 2-year-olds. Just couldn't finish the deal on anything good. But North Dakota's real good. That was the northeast corner. And that country's loaded with elk.
Really?
It was the weirdest thing. Yeah, elk sign everywhere.
That's wild.
Yeah, yeah,
Wouldn't have thought.
yeah. Real rough, real rugged area. Yeah, it was good. I ended up getting on to a property that first year. Of course, I did the same thing, all kinds of different properties, jumping around, running cameras, and I had a lot of good bucks in North Dakota on camera, really good. And I was actually surprised it was so good. Ended up kind of narrowing down to this one property to where there was a decent 8-point in there. It was the best one I had. And I'm like, that will do. So I started working on him, and it was doable. I'm like, I think I can work in on him. And it was kind of a grassy, willowy, flat property right there. It wasn't one of the real craggy, hilly spots. So I was able to crawl up in a windrow where there's a lot of sign with it at anyway. So I'm like, I might actually kill him here, but if not, I can see a long way. So that's how it ended up working out. I ended up kind of using that spot as like an observation sit, and I was able to see him out there. And I kind of chipped away for a couple days, moving on different spots on that big windrow, and I was able to figure out a couple hundred yards where a lot of deer are moving. So the next day, I'm like, okay, I'm moving over there. That's where I need to be. And it rained all night and it rained all day, and I didn't hunt in the morning. But this is another little thing that I've found works just great. A lot of guys like hunting in rain. They think that makes the deer move, and maybe it does. I don't know, but I'll guarantee what really works good is when it rains all day and it's starting to peter out when you're going to go hunt.
Yep.
If you can be setting up in the rain, but it's starting to slack off and it's starting to stop raining. Man, I tell you, I've seen deer move so good. Like everything just wants to get up and move and eat or whatever the deal is. I don't know.
Right.
That was one of those circumstances, and worked up into the tree, brand new, went in there mobile. Saw, I think, 1 or 2 young ones, maybe a doe or 2 right there, and then the big one ended up shooting. He showed up, and I don't know if he just stood up out of the bed right there, but it's on video. He's just a monster, great big body. I wasn't able to weigh him, but really good deer, good 8-point. Stood up. I think he stood up, or he didn't move it very far, because I looked up and I'm like, oh, look at that deer. Oh, look at that body. And I glass him. Oh yeah, that is a really good. That's way better than the one I was chasing in here. And he was just kind of looking around and not going anywhere. That's why I kind of think he wasn't far from his bed, or maybe he was just laying there too. I don't know. But looking around and I could tell that he was hearing things behind him. I was thinking there's deer back there, and I was petrified that he's going to turn and walk away from me because he's getting curious. So one of the few times a grunt tube works, I pulled it out and pointed it behind me real carefully, and it was and his head snapped. This is all on video. It's really cool. Head snapped and looked, and he's looking, and I think I did it maybe one more time once he started, turned his head again away from me, and sure enough, that was it. He was committed. He just wanted to come in and check it out, and I shot him as he was walking past me.
Nice.
Oh, you got to love it when they work out like that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, those are just gifts.
They never do that for me, but I mean, I'm sure it must be nice. It never happens.
They don't do much for me either, but when it works out, it's so good.
Yeah, I've grunted in 1 buck.
Yeah.
And that was in Kansas.
Yeah.
He was going away, following the does, and I started grunting, and he got pissed. It was coming back.
Yeah.
He was looking for that other deer, So that was one time grunts worked.
And I'm not even convinced that often they're mad or anything. I just think it's a curiosity thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
they're hurt. They like other deer, you know, and especially that time of year. He might have been thinking, hey, there's a buck over there. And I always try to kind of sound like a wimpy buck if I can too, you know. He's probably thinking, oh, there might be doe over there with that little wimpy son and teenager buck. I better go check that out.
Dean back.
That damn dean deer. You know. So your mobile setup.
Yeah.
You know, so do you use climbers, portables, sticks, saddle?
For years and years and years and years, I'm running my Lone Wolf Assault.
Okay.
Yeah, with sticks.
Yep.
I just did get the Fly new stand. What is the name brand of that stand? Do you remember? I can't remember the name brand. You're starting to see it a lot now out there. I'll think of it later on, but the model is called the Fly. Okay. It's 5.8 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, versus the Assault is 9-ish, 9.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. And it just seems like a few pounds, but you know, I'm getting older, you know. So I'll be running that Fly with my my honeybee sticks, and I'll be doing that. I did try the saddle thing for a year or two. The problem I end up figuring out is that I use that stand.
XOP.
XOP.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
XOP.
Yep.
XOP, yeah. I should remember that because we got her the XOP Rubicon. And so, yeah, I've been eyeballing that for like a year, and I was going to order it months ago, but it's been out of stock. So anyway, just got that, and it's awesome. It should work out just great. But anyway, back to saddle. The problem is I don't have anywhere to strap my camera gear to. You know, I use my stand for that.
Yep.
And so I end up having stuff here and there, and it's clank, and it's just not. It just wasn't worth it to me. So I went back to stand. And
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I did portable and sticks for years, and I ran. I don't even remember what the first portable I had was, but it was heavy. I about died every time.
Yeah.
And it had gorilla sticks, which were horrible, and they got recalled. I don't know how many times too, because they were horrible. And so then I got a Hawk stand at one time, and it's really light. I think I want to say it was 7 or 8 pounds. You know, at the time it was one of the lightest ones. And then I went to the Hawk helium sticks, use those, but I don't know. I'm too fat and old, so it takes me forever to get set up. So I switched to the saddle a few years ago in Ripley, and I've really liked it.
Yeah.
You know, just a saddle and sticks. And I used to film more of the hunts because I've got a really nice muddy camera arm, but I kind of quit filming hunts there for a little bit. I got a Tacticam on the front of my bow that I always forget to turn on.
Yep.
So
That's how that goes.
Yep. Yeah.
I've been running a second angle action cam for years. I have yet to turn it on. So I get so mad at myself.
Yep.
Never fails. You have good intentions, though.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Great intentions.
Even that coyote you got last weekend, you forgot to push record.
Oh my God, it's so dumb. It's
And
just
you had all the
one
time
button,
in the world,
and I
too.
did too, because I was like, "You guys sure?" Yeah. I was like, "Okay," and I didn't even hit the button because I'm not very smart.
That's all right. I've never once recorded anything while hunting.
Well, it's so easy to get so wrapped up in making on that deer. You know, I pride myself. I'm really good at getting on that deer with my camera, my main camera, but apparently that's my bandwidth because I can't do anything more.
Well, I guess I take that back. I did film my turkey hunt last
You did,
spring.
yeah.
But that was because I had a GoPro just like set out there amongst the decoys. I didn't have to remember to hit record.
Yeah.
Was that like a remote one? You turn it on? Yeah.
But no, kudos to be able to record everything that you do and set that up, because man, that it takes a lot of work and a lot of equipment, and you do great at it. So I'm impressed.
Yeah, thank you. The little camera arm I went to, the Lone Wolf pocket arm.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. Yeah, that thing's tiny and it holds my Canon XA11 just fine. Yeah, that's a different deal. Rather than carrying that big camera arm that I used to carry around, this is the way to go.
Yeah, that is one bad thing about the muddy arm. It's nice and
That's big.
But it's big and it's heavy.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah. So, getting on that deer with the camera while you're trying to kill it, that's an art.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I've done to so far be pretty good at it, but I have. It's always funny when people are running out there with a camera, and then, most of the time they don't get the shot, and they're, they all say the same thing. Well, it's either that or I didn't get the shot. I'm like, yeah, I know, but you can't say that every time either.
Right.
Yep.
Otherwise, you should just stop bringing the camera.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have to. It has to be kind of a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that last Iowa one I killed, I am so lucky. I got that on camera and the shot. He was cruising and half trotting, and I had to stop him. And by the time I even got the shot, got the camera on him, I didn't even look at the screen. I just pointed the camera at him, and it just worked out. Because it wasn't zoomed at all. It was the big frame. And I had to stop him, and I ended up putting it in behind the rib because he's quartering away. And any farther, I wouldn't have probably even been able to get a shot. But that's just one of those lucky times where it just worked out. But you kind of got to make it happen too.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's not even necessarily a skill thing. That's just a bullheaded thing.
No.
Yep.
And I just enjoy having it on video. And I have this little YouTube channel. Isn't for anything other than just sending my buddies.
Right.
I'm not looking for it to go anywhere or anything.
Yep.
Well, we've watched some of the videos. They're impressive.
I watched them today. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Just to refresh a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, we're in the middle of building this house, and I still have my Missouri hunt from last year, and then I hit and lost 2 in Wisconsin, which I'm going to make a video and put it out. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Super good hunts. So I have 2 videos that I haven't even put together yet, but I'm kicking myself because I haven't done it.
Yeah.
Because other things keep getting in the way.
Right.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But I hear from people all the time that would love to start doing some of these out-of-state hunts, but they're just kind of overwhelmed by the permitting process and the lottery process in some cases. And so how do you navigate that? Do you use any of those tools out there that
I don't.
you don't?
I should, but I don't. If I started adding states each year to what I do now, I probably would.
Yeah.
I do enough now where I can kind of stay on top of it. Like Missouri, Wisconsin, that's over the counter. I say over the counter, but you don't really go to a counter anymore.
Right.
You buy it beforehand, or in North Dakota too. Or like Wisconsin, you just order it up and you get your license right on your phone, so that's pretty easy. Kansas and Iowa, you gotta stay up on, because you don't want to miss a year and forget to buy a point,
Right.
Especially Iowa. I mean, then it'll be another 4 years,
Yeah.
or it'd be next year. I've been drawn every 4 years. So it'd break my heart if I missed Iowa.
Right.
Yeah. That's my favorite place to go.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize Kansas was a point system and whatnot. But then again, when I've purchased tags there, I can buy the landowner, family tenant tag or whatever it is. So,
Well, I think depending on, and I'm not an expert, but I think depending on where you go, there is a chance of drawing every year. I know James does.
okay.
But I don't know that he gets on that landowner deal or not. I just figure I'll buy a point 1 year, I'll put in for the next year for Kansas, and that's been working out.
Yeah.
So
I guess I got to start planning better.
Right. Yeah, we got to make our Wyoming pronghorn hunt happen.
That would be great.
I'm itching to do that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Or Montana.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
South Dakota even.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah, I hunted pronghorn in South Dakota.
Yeah. With your bow?
Yep.
How'd it work?
I killed a doe.
Okay.
I chased all week long. I chased around this great big buck in his herd, and I brought my daughter with me. She was probably 11-ish, and typical dad thing. I pushed her too hard, but she was a trooper. She was with me every day, and we spent a couple days sitting in a blind on a water hole. That didn't work out. So then we spent the rest of the time chasing this herd around, sneak in, and And one day I finally got up and the herd was coming up, a saddle was going to break over, and we managed to get around the other side where we were just waiting on them. I knew that's where they're going. And here they came, and my little 11-year-old girl moved and spooked the buck out, and I shot one of the does instead because I knew she was about spent, but it was good. It was awesome. That was around Hot Springs.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I'm dying to do that.
Yeah. So out of all the places you've been, I'm sure it's tough. What's your favorite place?
Iowa.
Yep,
Hands down.
Yeah.
And why is that?
The number of good bucks you see.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I went, guys said, "Hey, don't shoot the first 120 you see." I'm like, "Duh, I'm going to Iowa. I won't." But you start seeing bucks, and it's so different than here. The first buck I killed there was a 125. I think it was a 9-point or something. Good buck. I don't regret, but I'm like, oh yeah, I see what they mean now. You see a good buck and you get a good shot and you shoot it.
Yep, right.
So the second time, my goal was to not do that, and I end up coming home with a 150.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Gross, not net. Yeah,
right.
He had a broke brow tine, but it was great. Yeah, so Iowa's by far, and the hills, the amount of country that you can work. Super fun. Yeah. Really get into a lot of good deer in Iowa, but you got to work at it.
Yeah. Is there more pressure in Iowa on some of that public land?
Squirrel hunters are crazy.
Really?
Squirrel hunters are amazing. I mean, you got to I look at them in awe. I work my butt off, for 2 hours climbing up these bluffs to get up to where I want to hunt before daylight. And I'm sweating and I'm working. And I'm sitting there about daybreak, look up, here comes some squirrel hunters right up the same route I did for squirrels. I don't get it, but they're committed. Yeah. So, the second time the squirrel hunters were way worse than the first time I went. Yeah.
So when we get off the air, you're going to give us the GPS coordinates of your favorite spot, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'll give you. And then when you get to these coordinates, I want you to call me and tell me what you think.
Yeah, right. I could have sworn he said he loved Iowa. Why are these coordinates in Florida?
Yeah, you're going to end up somewhere in Effie or something.
Yeah. Why does this put me in the middle of the swamp?
Right.
Yeah. But same deal there. A lot of different properties, scout and do run through my same thing. Another key thing that I've found out you kind of got to keep in mind is I try to scout, find the spot, hunt that evening, leave my set, give it another morning hunt, see what it looks like. If things are stale, nothing's going on, I go to the next spot. If things are looking good and I'm still seeing deer and there's still a shooter or two on camera in that area, I'll give it another evening and a morning maybe. But you always have to be ready to move.
Yeah.
The days of sitting and thinking that, it's a rut. Deer will come for miles. You never know what deer is going to show up. I've just never had luck doing that with that mentality. Yeah. Even here, that's how I grew up. Is everyone's like, your dad or your uncles or whatever. Hey, deer move. You never know. And I've sat some really what I thought looked to be good spots for days and days, and that just has never happened to me.
Yeah,
yeah.
So scout till you start bumping deer. If it's where you think you want to go anywhere, hang and hunt. Do that until it wears out. Go to the next spot. You got to keep moving.
Yeah. That's good advice.
And like that last Iowa one I killed, I end up setting up at the top of this ridge, kind of at the base of this where the ridge really starts to get thin and really brushy. And I'm like, I know there's bedding out on that ridge. There's got to be. I got up there. Sure enough, there's a lot of tracks, a lot of buck sign. And I'm like, I'm going to set up here. Set up there, saw a couple little ones. Kind of end up adjusting a little bit on that ridge. Hadn't ruled it out yet because I knew there were still deer in there, and I was running a camera not far from there on a great big hub scrape, and the bucks were still in there, a couple good shooters, and so just watching everything from there. At one point down the side on a little spur ridge about 100 yards from me, I saw a real good half rack. I would have shot a mature deer. One he wasn't broke off, but he just grew all goofy, kind of looked like a tree stump or something. Watching him down there on this little knob, a third of the way down the hill, typical military crest stuff, and happened to be a thicker edge of brush right there, and everything was as it turned out later on. I'm like, yeah, this is the spot I should have been at right away, But sometimes it takes a while to figure it out. You just have to be open to seeing that stuff. So he ended up tending a doe there, and I did a little grunting or whatever, full well knowing that I might push him off, but he wasn't leaving her. He wasn't going to give me a shot. Well, he ended up coming up to me. I'm like, what? This is working. Well, little did I know, I saw then there's a small buck right by my tree that he was eyeballing. He's going to come up and push out of there. And he only got to like 50, 60 yards. I never got a shot. He went back down and ended up pushing that doe off, and a couple other deer that are bucks that I didn't even see by him ran with him, and that's the beauty of Iowa. You just don't see that very often here, right. So sat that evening, had that encounter. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. But that still wasn't quite enough to move off of what I thought was probably the best spot. This is where I was sitting. Hunted the next morning. Sure enough, another big shooter, big 10-point showed up. Same little spur knob down there, 100 yards. Same little edge. I'm like, okay, well, two times I can pick up on that. Yeah, this is obvious enough for me now. So pulled about midday, pulled my set, snuck down there. It took like an hour because I was kind of thinking that big buck was bedded on that knob. I'm like, well, I got to go down there. I got to be there for the evening. I might bump him. If he's there, I'm going to bump him. But what do you do? Yeah. So I snuck down there. It took like an hour to get down there and got up. Never did see anything. I don't think I bumped him, whatever. Sat that evening, didn't see a thing. But I was still getting pictures on that camera that was 100 yards from there on that hub scrape on the same side of the big ridge, kind of next to that spur knob that these bucks were showing up on. So I still had confidence in the area. I'm like, they're still here. They're still moving in around here. It's still a deery area. As long as there are deer here, I'm not going to leave deer to find deer. Right. That's my mantra. And so I got to come back the next morning. Came back next morning, and now it's like literally my last day. I gotta pull out of there. I got to go back home. A little 120-inch 10-point cruise through there, and I was going to shoot him because of the last day, but he busted me and he got away, and that was good because I was so glad that I didn't kill him. Even then I'm like, even then I hadn't killed the big buck yet, but I'm like, yeah, that's not what I came for. I'm glad that didn't work out. So keep sitting, and right at noon, here come this one that I killed. Popped up from the bottom up onto that spur ridge. Right, I mean, he looked like he was looking into my soul. He just like coming right because I'm above him now, And he looked at me for a second. I freeze, and of course my bow is hanging behind me, and my camera is sitting here, and it's not even on or nothing, And he turned to his left, my right, and nose down, just doing that whole nose cruising thing, and hit the camera, flipped it on, pointed at him, grabbed my bow, murped him, and put it in behind his ribs. It just worked out perfect. But there wasn't any waste of time there at all. I couldn't, But it just one of those times it worked out, and it was a good shot. But that was a good example of just being aware of your area, because there I had to adjust, kind of like the North Dakota thing. Yeah. You have to, you can't get married and quagmired into one spot. You have to be flexible. Right. That's the key. I spent way too many hours sitting in one stand because the spot looked good to me. Mm-hmm. True. And I think a lot of guys, especially guys that grow up hunting areas like I did here, your learning curve is so slow with those things. You just don't see that many deer, and you don't see bucks do buck things, and it takes years to gather the intel that you would gather in 1 or 2 years in a place like Iowa. You know?
Yeah. I know I'm very guilty of that. I find myself all the time sitting in a spot just thinking to myself, why are there no deer here?
Right, this is a great spot.
If I was a deer, I would be right here.
Right.
Yeah. Or this is such a beautiful tree. I'm going to set this tree. That's beautiful. Look at the cover I got up there, and it's comfortable.
Yeah.
But those are the mistakes you make when you don't hunt an area with good deer, because you just don't. It takes forever to pick up those little lessons.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you start going to areas where there are good deer in numbers of them. And you quickly realize because these moves are obvious, you know that you have to move because you're seeing deer down there. You know, I got to move down there. That's the spot to be at. I'm out of the game right here. So it's so fun hunting areas where there are deer and there are good deer. You know, you see bucks do buck things. I always say that.
Yeah,
and that's what you just don't see that a lot here.
You don't.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're sitting all day, you know, at most of those
I'm in the
spots.
woods all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, if I've sat an evening in the morning and I determine that it's not happening anymore here, I'll pull and I'll go to the next spot.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm always on my phone looking at Onyx. Okay, if I have to pull out of here, where am I going now? You know, do I have to go all the way out to my truck, or hopefully not, because oftentimes you're back far enough that you'd run out of time before the end of the day.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I'm like, okay, this spot here, on this next little ridge here that I can walk to, it'll take an hour and a half to get over there and get set up, but I want to check that spot out.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You always have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Because you might find, I got to move because I'm just wasting time here. You know, and could you sit another 2 days, even with very little deer activity? Because, for whatever reason, maybe that hot doe left, or maybe some squirrel hunters moved in and put in too much pressure to the area, or maybe, the 2 bucks that you're in there smelled your residual scent when you left the night before, after dark. You don't know what happens. That's why you have to be ready to do something else.
Yep.
So just being flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you archery only these days?
Yeah. I get so bored and I think about rifle hunting. It about kills me. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you. It's like I feel like an archery snob, but I don't know why. I just don't want to do it with anything else. And I mentioned earlier that when I retire, I'm going to start digging into the earlier season stuff. I'm going to, but I love to see a buck moving in that November brown, leafy, noisy rut stuff. I love how that picture.
Yeah.
The way I've killed deer in the earlier season in the green, and it's awesome. But you just can't beat that picturesque. It's not the same.
No.
And I can't even tell you exactly what, but I think you guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's a different experience getting one with your bow versus a rifle, or even muzzleloader. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's probably because obviously with the bow, they have to be that much closer. With a rifle, you see it 100 yards away, boom,
Right.
But with the bow, it's just, it's different.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not the right word, but it's a much more intimate way of hunting.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love it.
You put in so much blood, sweat, and tears, and you fail so often that when it does work out with a bow and arrow, you did something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how
you
it is.
accomplish something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, not taking anything away from a gun hunter at all.
No,
that's great too. But it just seems, I always feel like such a archery snob, but it just seems like a step above, and I kind of find myself thinking the same way with public land too.
Yeah.
When you kill a good buck on public land, to me, it means more. And again, not taking anything away from guys who kill a good buck on private. I would do it if I stumbled into a good private land, but I don't even knock on doors anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But I probably should.
Yeah, you know, and yeah, like you said, nothing against anybody for how they choose to hunt. You know, I do it all, right? I use guns, I use bows, I hunt public, I hunt private. But there is something to say about an archery hunt on public land where, you know, the increase in difficulty is undeniable, right? And so that feeling of accomplishment goes right along with it.
That satisfaction is second to none. I always say that's the only time in my life when a buck's coming in like that there's nothing else in my mind. Everything else is gone. Mm-hmm. And that's a rare thing. And it's a special thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's cool that, you know, you travel to other states, find just a piece of public land on a map, you know, and scout it, and then be able to be successful, you know, a lot of times.
And, you know, self-film it the whole time.
Right. Exactly.
The step above for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, talk about increasing the difficulty.
Yeah.
My luck, I'd drop the damn camera and scare the buck away.
I haven't done that yet, but I wait for it to happen every single year.
It's bound to happen.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. Last year, my wife went with me to Missouri. And she was my camera gal, and she spent a lot of hours up there with me. But Missouri was fun. I talked about a lot of hunters, but those deer didn't really bother them like I thought it should have. We were still getting in deer all the time, you know. It was weird. Like one time, we had a couple deer kind of running through just where I could barely see them. They're just in the brush, but I knew there's something going on because they're running, you know, and they didn't look spooked. I'm like, there's a buck in there chasing a doe, but they're just far enough to where we could just see bits and pieces of them. Then a little buck kind of circled around and came close to us. And I'm like, there's another buck in there. Well, later, I don't remember if it was that night or the next morning when we were at the truck, another guy was at the truck. At his truck right by us, and he's like, "Hey, was that you hunting over, you know, by this spot?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was us." He goes, "Yeah, did you see that big buck standing in the creek right by it? He went into that peninsula you guys are hunting on." I mean, there's other hunters that close.
Yeah,
you know, it's I didn't like it,
right?
You know, but it's just different. It was kind of weird. Yeah, I end up shooting a small 10-point there in Missouri, which was good, but. It's just fun going to a new state and killing a buck. Right. Saying, I checked that one off.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Hopefully someday.
Right. No doubt. But I do have to say, I did learn a new word from you just a minute ago. Merped. And I knew exactly what he meant when he said it, but I've never said it that way before.
I wasn't going to question it, but
I mean, you knew what it meant.
Exactly.
But
I like that.
What's the sound we make?
Merp. I never heard it spelled out like that, I guess. Yep. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how many deer I've killed after merping them.
Oh, you got to merp them.
A lot of them. Yeah.
I love merping them.
Yeah.
I've actually merped them with somebody that has never heard a merp before. Your daughter. Yeah. She was in a stand with me, and there was this deer out in front of us, and I gave a merp to try stop it, and I think she just didn't even pay attention to deer. She looked at the side of my head like, what the hell are you stroking?
What is wrong with you?
I had to explain it to her after. I was just trying to stop it, you know.
Don't get me wrong. If I can kill it without merping them, I will, but there are times where you got to merp them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Love it.
Well, we've we've asked one or two of our guests this question, but I feel like we need to do it with everyone from here on out.
Okay.
So, Greg, what is your dream hunt? You could go on one hunt you've always wanted to. What would it be?
I hate to be this boring, but I am really into the Iowa big buck hunting.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, but second, I would like to get on a good rut elk hunt, but you know the problem with that is your areas are limited. You know, and as you get older, the areas are more limited for you too. You know, I got a knee that's bad, whatever. I don't want to make excuses, but Yeah, I there's something about big bucks in Midwest, hunting them in a state like Iowa. I think I will just continue doing my dream hunts every 4 years.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that answer.
No.
You know,
No.
if your dream hunt is what you get to do all the time, that's a great life.
Score.
Exactly.
Score.
That makes it easy.
I tell my buddies, not that I want more people in Iowa, but I tell my buddies who are, the diehard archery guys, I'm like, before you're done, you have to get to Iowa.
Yeah.
You have to go archery hunt in Iowa before it's no longer the best place on earth to hunt.
Yeah.
Well, you've inspired me.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So do you, since you're archery, do you hunt turkeys or anything else archery?
When I retire, I'm going to get serious with turkey. But
Okay.
I've chased turkeys,
Yeah.
and I've killed a couple of them. Unfortunately, and I'm ashamed to admit it, I have foregone the bow and picked up the shotgun to finally get it done.
Yeah.
But I always start out with a bow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I'm the worst turkey hunting ever. I can't even call them in or nothing.
You ain't been hunting with us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, you guys could have had one.
We
You could have had a
Last
couple.
year we could have.
Yeah, you just passed
This
on
is
the
our
James.
year. This is our year.
right.
I hope it is for you.
Yeah.
I'd rather hunt a Boone and Crockett buck. I think I'd have better success than a stupid turkey. They're so random. You can't predict what they're going to do. I can't
No.
anyway.
Right. Yeah.
See, I have a designated turkey gun that I am yet to use on a turkey.
Yeah, but you got one
You got one with your bow.
with a traditional bow.
I get them with my bow every year since I moved back here.
No kidding.
So I haven't had to pull the gun out yet, but
I might have to hook up with you. I have yet to kill one with my bow.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
This is the year.
Yep.
Year of the bow for turkeys.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm gonna do the trad bow again this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Show off.
Yeah.
it's showing.
That would be
I'm
impressive.
just a step above.
Yeah.
You're a step above something.
That's right. That's right.
Or maybe a step over or something.
Right. Don't step in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
So awesome. What else? I mean, we've covered everything else with you. Let's come back home here.
Okay.
I mean, you still hunt around here, obviously, right?
Well, my intention was always to still hunt around here. Last year, I never stepped foot in the woods this year.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I keep saying we're building this house, so that kept me really busy.
Well, that'll do it.
In fact, the two bad shots in Wisconsin I made, 100% because I'm building this house. I didn't even pick up my bow till mid-September last year.
Yeah.
And when you don't shoot it all summer, it's not part of you. It's not. And I don't know what the deal was. I just wasn't settling my pin and just shooting high on them. I shot them both in backstrap. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Well, to be fair, the one really dropped a lot, but the good one that I would have put on the wall, 25 yard, never moved, dead to rights, shot him right high, right in the backstrap. So, what was your question? I got off
Minnesota.
on a tangent.
Hunting back home.
Do you still hunt around here?
Yeah. Well, my intention is always to. I always try to get out on my little place. I have a few acres and try to shoot a doe anyway, just for the freezer. And I didn't even do that last year. But the problem is I don't necessarily want to shoot a 1 year old or anything like that. And as it turns out, I might as well because I'm not hardly hunting it anyway. But the last few years, except for last year, I was able to get on a couple really good deer, and the spots were in little pieces of public intermixed with in the middle of some private, and I didn't get on either one. And the problem here is the first day of gun season, first week of gun season, they're both killed,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's been my experience. If I find a good buck and I don't kill it in archery season, it's usually not around for the next year.
Right.
That's happened several times to me actually. But I have killed a couple of really good deer here in the last 10 years or so, and it's just so far and few between. A lot of work in between, and with vacation, I end up putting. I don't know, more bang for the buck just to put my time into trying to get into these other spots and scout and then go to other states, you know. So starting this year, maybe I'll have some more time to put a more, another effort into Minnesota. But I mean, I might as well. We have deer here.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
right.
There's a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least try to add to the freezer anyway.
Right. That's something that I need to. Yeah, honestly, I've never shot a doe with my bow. You know, and now that my son's up hunting, it's like, well, I just, let him get a deer.
Right.
And so that way we at least have that. And if he gets a really nice one, great. If he doesn't, but at least let him get a deer first. And then I can be a little bit more choosy.
That is one nice thing about having a young hunter is they can fill the freezer for you.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And then you can be a little more choosy.
But I would like to get out more earlier season and just get a doe just to fill the freezer as well. Because apparently now this past year, the wife's like, well, you could have got a deer. It's like, oh, now you want 2 deer. Whereas previous year, you go, we only need 1. We don't need any more. It's like,
Well,
so I'm going to start shooting more.
There for a while, I was not shooting a doe on my place because I have a hard time keeping anything with some age on my place. I'm surrounded by smaller property owners, but there were 3 years. There's one good buck that was coming from, I don't know, half to a mile away. I don't know exactly where he was, but I picked him up on camera on some public, kind of within a mile of my place once or twice. So I know the direction he's come from, but regardless, like the November 15th or 17th or something, for 3 years in a row, he'd show up at my place and chase a doe around. And so I never, for those 3 years or 4 years, I never wanted to fill my tag, because I wanted to hold out, because oftentimes I'm back from my trips by then. I wanted to get on him. One year I got close. I think I actually saw him on my place, but I couldn't get him close. But then I heard word of a gun, a couple gun seasons ago, somebody killed a big buck in the area, and I'm sure it's him because he never showed up again.
Yeah.
But I still think that deal was that whatever that doe on my place would come into estrus about that time, because it was clockwork.
Yep.
Every year. And he'd be there for 2 days running around chasing does, and then he's gone again. So they're mysterious.
They are.
Yeah,
They
that's
are.
for sure.
And up here, it's so hard to figure them out.
Yep.
Because they change so often, and there's no patterning in them.
Right.
No.
No, and there's so many people around all the time.
Well, yeah, they get bounced around like ping pong balls.
And if you find a good buck in the summer in velvet, and you try to keep tabs on him, come September 1st or whenever it is he sheds, almost all the time they relocate. They move to a fall area.
Yep.
Unless you know where that's at, you're out of the game.
Right.
And it's hard with big woods.
Yeah.
Big woods is tough.
That's what we had this last year with that. We had one with the drop tine, nice wide, and he had that one drop tine, but was on our camera routinely. And then about a week before firearm season, he disappeared.
Yep.
Oh,
Well, maybe you'll see them this year.
that's an odd time for them to relocate.
Yeah,
Wonder if something weird happened.
could be. I don't know. Maybe he got shot with a bow.
Could have.
Yeah.
Damn bow hunters. Take all the good deer.
Did
Those elitist assholes.
I tell you about the drop time buck I shot over in your neck of the woods a couple years ago?
Right.
Beauty.
It was gorgeous. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was weird because he just showed up.
Yeah.
It's like he came from somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, you got anything else to add there, Greg?
I don't. No, it was fun.
Yeah. I thought of a name for your channel. I'm sure you've thought of it too, and then I was actually thinking you could write a few articles even for MNBOW to put on the website. Lease Logic.
Oh,
Lease
that's a good one.
Lease Logic.
That is a good one.
I had to write it down so I didn't forget.
Oh, you actually wrote it down?
I did. Because I knew there was going to be a point to where I could say
I'm
it.
going to tell the boss here, remember that, Lease Logic.
Yeah, because I didn't want to interrupt.
You always got to do something like a weird misspelling, like logic with a K or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Could.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
But I'm thinking underneath, I'm seeing the name and I'm seeing an arrow underneath. you know, or even the L, kind of like a bow, or I don't know.
So you want me to rename my YouTube channel too? I put a lot of effort and creativity into my name of Greg Lease.
Yeah.
It's easy to find when I was looking for you.
Right.
Yeah, I spent zero time thinking of a name for my channel. You can tell it's just primarily a place to put footage and that's it. Send it to my buddies.
Awesome.
Yeah. But no, we were talking the other day and when we were going to get you on, I was like, you know, it'd be great to learn some of this stuff from Greg and then have him write just a little piece and throw it on the website or you know, on the Facebook or anything like that.
We can share your videos too.
Yeah, we could.
Mm-hmm. If anybody wants to see them, you can find Greg's channel pretty easy on YouTube.
Yeah, it's not Lease Logic.
It's not Lease Logic yet.
But it might be soon.
It might be.
Yeah, just Greg Lease, just like lease a car, Lease.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward. Yeah. Whatever you guys, you know, if you see some benefit to that, I'm happy to do whatever I can.
Heck yeah.
We're always starving for content. So
exactly. Yeah. Anything to help
we
push
can
that
share
a little bit. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And if anybody wants to see Greg go to these different states and have what appears to be some pretty dang good luck on public ground, watch these videos.
I don't know if we can call it luck.
Well, yeah. I mean,
logic.
It's logic.
It's a lot
It's
of
the least logic.
luck and logic start with the same letter, so they're very close cousins.
They're not far off, right? But no. But anyway, thanks a lot, Greg, for coming over.
Thank you so much.
And we'll have you back too, especially after you get these new videos edited that you're holding on to.
Yeah, sounds good.
Heck yeah.
We'll talk about that.
That was fun. Good talking. It's always good talking about hunting this time of year, especially.
I know it's kind of an off time of year, and as it warms up, we'll all be shifting gears, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, in just a couple weeks, you got to take a break from swinging the hammer and get out there and get a turkey with your bow.
Right. Right. I'm looking forward to that myself.
Yeah, me too. I got my tag ordered, so I'm just waiting for it to come in the mail.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Is that time come and gone, I'm assuming?
No.
Is it over the counter?
For archery.
Yeah.
Okay.
For archery,
Yeah, and that season starts the 15th
Yep.
of April.
Okay.
And it goes till May 31st,
I believe so too. Yeah.
Well, for sure, if it's not this year, I'm going to get more serious with that turkey thing. Just it's fun to have something in the spring to break it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks again.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Least logic.
Least logic.
The Minnesota Deer Hunters Association has been building our hunting and conservation legacy over the past 40 plus years through habitat, education, advocacy, and legislation in Minnesota for Minnesota.
The Minnesota Deer Hunters Association and Wolf Dot Report proudly sponsor this podcast. However, please note that the opinions, topics, and guests featured may not necessarily align with the views, beliefs, goals, or mission of our sponsors.